What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of the FIFA World Cup 2026 edition. I'm your host, Shego. And guys, it's great to be back here today and to analyze a very, very interesting game. I think a game that lived up to the expectation. And that game was Germany versus Côte d'Ivoire. Germany 2, Côte d'Ivoire 1. Fantastic game, really. A lot of talking points, a lot of interesting things that we saw. Good coaches. Two very good coaches and different tactical battles, different individual battles in this game. A lot of interesting players that we have known that, they showcase themselves on the big stage. And I think it was great. So guys, let's jump right into it. Let's analyze Germany versus Côte d'Ivoire. I think first and foremost, I have to say first and foremost that, we are expected, we know how Germany is going to approach the game. We also know how Côte d'Ivoire would approach the game. But I think for Germany, everybody knows that Germany on the ball, Germany would take a shape of 3-1-6. This is Julian Nagelsmann. Julian Nagelsmann would have those three number 10s in that situation. So we expected that. We expected to see that 3-1-6 situation. So we had at the back, you had the likes of Kimmich. On the right, you had Tah, you had Schlotterbeck, which later got injured and Rudiger came in. You have Pavlović as a single one. And then you have the likes of Felix Nmecha, you had Musiala, you had Wirtz, Wirtz, you have even, this Sané, you have all those guys in the game at the front. So I think we expected to see that really. And I felt that also what we expected to see also in the German national team is the way they want to play football, the diamond and the close combination play centrally. They want to play through the center. I think we saw that. And also for Côte d'Ivoire, we also know what to expect in terms of Côte d'Ivoire have two very exciting young wingers that started for them in the sense of, they have Diomande and they have Diallo. Also, the midfield, the experience of the likes of Kessie, the experience of the likes of Sangaré, also will be their experience, physical side. And I felt that it was really, really good to see that we saw what we expected to see at the beginning in terms of the shape. For Côte d'Ivoire, I think Côte d'Ivoire had different shapes of the ball, different variations of the ball. They started for most part of the first half with a 4-3-3 off the ball, a mid block, being compact, trying to limit the spaces. So Côte d'Ivoire's approach, to against Germany is that they knew Germany were going to play centrally. So what they decided to do was we're going to press in a 4-3-3, right? 3 in front, 3 in the center, and 4 at the back. And then when I go to see, what we'll do is that, first of all, we'll stop Germany from playing through the center. That was their first objective. That's Côte d'Ivoire. We'll stop them from playing through the center. So you press in such a way that the ball doesn't pass through. And when Germany finds a way to pass through, and they are going to pass, the three at the back are going to pass to Pavlović. When they pass to Pavlović, the instruction is press Pavlović. I think there were certain moments in the first half where it really worked for Côte d'Ivoire in terms of they were pressing Pavlović. Sometimes it was Musiala that dropped deep and they were pressing and they caused disruption there and they had moments to now say, okay, let's do a counter press, let's do a transitional moment from that situation. And I think it was really, really good in the setup. So other thing that Côte d'Ivoire also tried because for the first quarter, because football now is not now in the World Cup, it's no longer first half or second half. It's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. That's how you divide football matches now because of the water break. And I think for the first quarter, the game ultimately became Germany's game. I think Germany had that momentum. They had that goal that was rightly disallowed. The one that Pavlović obstructed the goalkeeper, from the corner. And the water break happened. And the water break is not just a water break in football. I think you have to also understand that it's not just water break. There are different things that the water break connotes. The water break can be an advertisement break. I think that's what people have been saying. It's an advertisement break. Not just an advertisement break. The water break is a tactical break, right? Not just a tactical break. The water break is a momentum break. And I think that's one of the things we saw today in terms of after the first quarter of football, the tactical break, momentum break, advertisement break, water break, whatever you will call it, shifted to Côte d'Ivoire. The momentum shifted to Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire in that movement, brilliant 1v1 situation from Diomande, to the other side, and Kessie scored the goal. And the game changed from there. In terms of a game that was always in Germany's hand, they had the momentum. Germany was pressing before the second quarter of the game. I think for the second quarter, Côte d'Ivoire had the feel. Côte d'Ivoire were threatening. Côte d'Ivoire caused some situations. But Germany, they got themselves back in. But I think also in the second quarter of the game also, you would also see that Cote d'Ivoire's objective was, now we have our one goal. What we need to do is we depend on transitional moments, but not the transitional moment alone. We will depend on fast, direct attacking football in terms of, and we play to the wing. So they try situations. You see that a lot of times in the game where they try to play it long directly to create a one-to-one situation with the likes of Diomande and with the likes of Amad Diallo. And I feel in that situation, Diomande, yes, this moment he had for the goal was very, very influential. But the fact is, apart from that situation, maybe one or two more situations, I think Kimmich did very well in handling Diomande. I think Kimmich did very well, apart from the goal, yes, which obviously you say a goal was caught there. But I think for most part, Kimmich was there to handle Diomande. I think even after the goal, Germany also, because you understand the threat of Diomande and Amad Diallo, Germany also resulted because of the ball. Germany was in a 4-4-2. So Germany at a point decided, okay, we know that these guys are good wingers. They're going to stretch us and try to operate. They decided to say, okay, Pavlović, you drop off from the midfield of 4, drop down and become a 5 at the back. And so there were certain moments in the game after the first goal after the goal of Côte d'Ivoire that Germany came to play. They started to play a 5-3-2, a 5-3-2 system instead of, a 4-4-2 that they were playing for most part. So guys, let's go into more things in terms of I think there were a lot of individual battles that I think I really enjoyed. I think for one of them is the situation of Kimmich and Diomande. I think it was very, very good. Amad and Brown was also a very, very good one. I think everybody had their moments. Amad, Brown had their moments. I think in the midfield also a lot of battles. I think the midfield battle for me was the most important battle in this game. I felt it was where the game was more or less won by Germany, because when you look at the structure, as I said earlier, for Côte d'Ivoire was to play in a 4-3-3, don't allow it to be central. At a point in the second half of the game, they still maintained that. But what they now did was, it wasn't necessarily now a 4-3-3 as you would see it. It was now the 3 in the center were not flat now. The 3 in the center had Sangaré dropping deep to form like a 6, while they had two 8s in that situation. And I felt that structure caused a lot of issues at the beginning of the second half of Germany. Caused a lot of issues. And I think that was the moment where we began to see Côte d'Ivoire at the beginning of the second half begin to have transitional moments where they could have capitalized, obviously, because they had that structure of before at the back, Sangaré in front of the 4, 2 8s and 3 in front, caused Germany a lot of issues. But I think one of the things I saw for Germany's situation was that Nagelsmann was stubborn in terms of, we know this is what is causing us problem. Okay, we're going to bring in new profiles of players, but we are still going to try to break that structure. And I think ultimately at the end, they broke the structure. They broke the structure for the winning goal. I think they broke the structure for that winning goal. The pass, I think it was Felix Nmecha that passed the ball directly to Undav. And I think it was fantastic, really. I think it's just all about, being focused. We are going to break this. We are going to break this. That consistency. And I think it was amazing to see because Côte d'Ivoire caused problems and Germany finding ways to solve them. And I think it was really, 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 really good. Also, another individual that I want to praise, and I think is Kessie. Kessie, the captain, I think was fantastic. Amazing. Physically, the leadership is there. The physicality is there. It was just amazing. Felix Nmecha for Germany was there. Played very well. Amad had his moment, but really not really a super performance as you would do it. Yes, he had some defensive contributions also, but not really a super performance as you would want. Diomande had his moment also, but ultimately not really a good performance. I think Sané for Germany wasn't really good again. I was not impressed with what I saw. A lot of players really. Musiala had moments, but really the lack spark. Havertz moment was really there was not really much spark. But I think the top performance for me would be Tah. Jonathan Tah was amazing. I think very amazing. Jonathan Tah and Brown amazing. Stotterbeck was also good, but injury was good last match. Injury also affected, but I think Jonathan Tah for me, if I was to give a player that really, really wowed me for Germany, I think. Yes, you can talk about the goal scorers, but for me, I feel Jonathan Tah was fantastic today. I think the rest defense of Germany was very good today. You cannot deny that. Very good rest defense in terms of, the Brown, Tah, even Rudiger there. Those guys were, there were moments that Côte d'Ivoire could have capitalized upon in terms of transition, they didn't capitalize on it. Also, there were moments where Germany was well placed to start a good transition. They didn't really start transition well in that was in the second half. But I felt ultimately it was a very good game. Ultimately, very, very enjoyable. Very, very enjoyable game. And so, guys, very, 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 very interesting game. I really enjoyed the game. I feel these were two very good coaches, two very good teams. And hopefully, I believe that let's see what happens to Côte d'Ivoire. I hope that there's a possibility for them to remain in the tournament. But I think they really showed themselves physical side, aggressive side, and they know how to go about their things. But I think they were not clinical in terms of the transitions they had. They didn't really make big use of them. So guys, let me have your opinion on the game. Germany 2, Côte d'Ivoire 1. Let's have that discussion. What do you think about the game? Do you think there's anything I say you don't agree with, or anything you saw in the game that really you think happened in a different way? Let's have that discussion in the comment section. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Ultimately, don't forget to share. Until I see you next time. Bye.